Hey guys, Games for Life here, and here's everything you need to know about the trade platform in Astroneer. So the trade platform is an essential tool for any Astroneer player. It is the way most players get some of the rarer resources in Astroneer, myself included. And not gonna lie, I'm using it a lot these days. Basically all of the resources I don't have time to actually mine, I get them from the trade platform. So I've really been using it a lot. Now we'll go to all the steps of actually using it. First, you'll need to unlock it. And for that you'll need 2500 bytes. That's really not hard to get, you can just scan some things in the wild for it, or you can research some items at the research chamber. So you'll basically get that in no time. Now we can move on to step number 2. After unlocking it, you actually need to craft it. For that you're gonna need an exochip, iron and tungsten. I also have a video on how to get iron and tungsten, as well as another video on how to get exochips. So make sure to check those out as well if you want to know more about getting these resources. Great, so now we've got our trade platform crafted. And it's time to move on to step number 3. Now we actually get to use it. At the trade platform you can trade scrap for various resources as well as Astroneer for some other resources. Now for beginners you will start off by only using scrap, but as you get more advanced you can get into using Astroneer and even the third resource, which is hidden, because it has a story implication in Astroneer. That's partly why we won't go into that today. So we'll just discuss about the scrap and the Astroneer. I mentioned that as a beginner you'll basically start off with a scrap. So you're gonna need a ton of scrap. We've got a canister full of it right here. But how do you actually get the scrap that you need in order to use the trade platform? Well, one way to do it is a scrap farm, like the one behind me. Of course, you can also just run around gathering debris, but that's gonna take a lot of time, so I'd suggest building a scrap farm first. Of course, I also have videos on how to build a scrap farm, 3 of them indeed, so go check those out as well after finishing this video. A card with one of them should appear on screen right now, and this is basically how it works. You'll need soil. You place it right here, and then you've got one or more soil centrifuges that are set to create resin. And we've got no power here. Let me get some power in here. There we go. So these two are set to create resin, and then we've got small printers which are set to create small canisters. We're gonna see them in action here in a second. So the resin gets put right there and they create the small canisters. Now we've got some auto arms that grab all of these small canisters and fit them into an extra large shredder. This essentially just turns them into scrap, which gets fed into these canisters that we then take from here and we use for our trade platform. Now this is a pretty easy way to turn soil into scrap, and it's the more efficient way I found. You can also turn Astroneer into scrap through other farm designs, but that's a little bit more complicated and harder to use. So I just opted for the easier option of turning soil into scrap. I just want to show you another thing as well. We've actually got another scrap farm right here on Glacio, and this is a much bigger one. So here it is. You won't need one as big as this to use the trade platform, but you can do this once you get more advanced and you need more scrap. Now it's turned off because it doesn't have any soil. We'll have to fill those canisters up again. But this works with the same principles, it's just bigger. You can basically go as far as you want with this. You can build an even bigger one. I'm pretty sure you can actually cover a whole planet in just a scrap farm, like a huge one. I won't do that right now because probably my computer couldn't handle that, and you would also need a ton of time to do that. Maybe that's something we can try in creative mode once. I don't really use that, but we could do that in the future. Now let's get back to the trade platform so I can show you what resources you can actually get from it. So by just using scrap, you can get compound, resin, organic, clay, quartz, graphite, sphalerite, ammonium, laterite, malachite, wolframite, hematite, titanite, lithium, and that's it. So a ton of resources. Actually for the first resources, like the compound, resin, organic, clay or quartz, I usually use the soil centrifuge, so you can get those here, as well as ammonium and graphite. But yeah, you can do it either way. I think it's actually cheaper to use the trade platform, but you'll need to turn your soil into scrap first. So that's pretty much all you can get with the scrap. Now if you have Astroneer, you can get exochips, packagers, solid fuel jump jets, dynamite, hydrazine, a portable smelting furnace or a gravity globe. These are all really cool resources, especially the exochip. I think this is the one I use most Astroneer for, because it's not really hard to get, but it's time consuming. So being able to trade Astroneer for exochips is a really cool way of getting them easily and more effectively. I think I also have a video on exochips if you want to check that out. And if you need some Astroneer, I've got a video on how to set up an auto extractor to get near infinite Astronium. Of course, by moving it to different Astronium nodes once they get depleted. But yeah, that strategy really works, so make sure to go check out those videos as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. I'll leave the scrap farm video on the end screen here, so you can check that out next. I've been Games for Life, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, Astroneers!